and welcome to Governance Now. This is Gitanjali Manhas and you're watching Checks and Balances. One of the busiest and oldest railway systems in the world, Indian Railways is the country's national transporter and also its lifeline. Indian Railways stretches across 67,000 kilometers and serves 2.3 crore passengers on a daily basis. It operates more than 13,000 trains on a daily basis, connecting 7,325 stations across the nation. As per reports, in 2023, Indian Railways served a staggering 3.52 billion passengers, transporting 1,512 metric tons of freight. In its budget for 2024-2025, Narendra Modi government has allocated rupees 2.52 lakh crores to Indian Railways, surpassing 2.4 lakh crore during the last fiscal. As per Economic Survey 2023-2024, capital expenditure for railways has increased 77% over the last 5 years to rupees 2.62 lakh crore for financial year 2024. As per Railway Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, a major chunk of the budget allocation will go towards railway safety. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his third term, has also retained Ashwini Vaishnav as Railway Minister to achieve his vision for modern Indian railways. Indigenously manufactured new age Vande Bharat trains, introduction of Rajdhani Tejas trains, dedicated freight corridors, bullet trains, vacuum bio-toilets, Vistadome coaches, increasing rail lines, electrification of tracks, station redevelopment, installing automatic signaling system, UTS mobile app, eliminating all unmanned crossings on broad gauge, rail connectivity to Northeast, among several big rail infrastructure projects all across the country are only some of the developments undertaken by the Narendra Modi government for modernization of Indian railways, and more is yet to come. However, despite spending crores of rupees towards modernization of Indian railways, India has seen some major train accidents in the recent past due to signal failure, collision, derailment and other accidents. In one of the deadliest accidents on record, a 3-train collision in Balasore, Orissa killed around 300 people, injuring 1,200 more. Since Balasore in June last year, 21 train accidents have taken place in India. Out of these, 7 train accidents have taken so far in 2024. The Firozabad train collision in 1995 killed 358 people, the highest number recorded so far since 1995. Increasing rail accidents on Indian railways have raised serious concerns of safety, calling for stringent measures to prevent such tragedies. We speak to railway experts on safety, issues plaguing Indian railway systems, and the way forward. Subodh Kumar Jain, former member, Railway Board, here says,
Honorable Minister of Railways in the Parliament flashed some statistics and said that per train kilometer our accident records are improving. Last 1 year, whatever accidents we are having, there are huge casualties and the collisions have increased. The pattern is manage rather than address the issue. Fall out of that accident, go into the root cause and then address the issues involved. Culturally, we are not sensitive to the train operation. Train operation is a complicated thing. So many departments involved and there is no one person who understands what are the implications of applying brakes or not applying brakes, or what are the implications of issuing the paper line clear which happened in case of Kanchenjunga accident. You have to follow the standard operating procedure, adopt a shortcut. Now that tendency is increasing. Anybody who is telling that, sir, this is not as per rule, we cannot operate like this. So he is said, humko kanun samjhate ho. Balasore also, the same thing happened. Signal failed and the rule says that if signal failed, you stop the train, you first attend the signal, rectify it, and then only you can operate the train. The fellow who was sitting in the field put some cross connection so that signal becomes green without verifying the path on which this train will go. Already one train is standing, chalta hai. Cultural issues. the same very person who is supposed to haul you up and ask you to follow the rule, he himself is asking you to violate the rule. The line of command has been diluted. Indian Railway Management Service says that the operational level head, divisional railway manager, general manager, their job is only to push the train people down. They are the domain experts who are supposed to follow the rule. But those domain experts are reporting to the management who is not domain. So this change has taken place only after 2019 and it has got rolled out now. 5 years, we have not recruited any engineer from the All India Engineering Service. And we were the last surviving government railway system. We were the profitable, running the transport service, making money. Then we were paying dividend to the central government for their investment because we had a line of command and a system. 1903 Railway Board Act, they said that there will be no administrative service officer in the Ministry of Railways and the people who have risen from the ranks, they will be secretary to Government of India. That was the exception made only for the Railway Ministry. All other ministry, the secretaries are from the IAS.
Alok Kumar Verma, retired chief engineer, Indian Railway Service of Engineers, while giving his views, he says,
over the past 20-25 years, railway neglected the main railway network and it thought of building a separate lines for carrying heavy freight in super long trains. Then bullet train came up, and that too on a different gauge. On the one hand, you are creating a DFC for carrying super heavy freight trains, super heavy, super long freight trains. And on the other hand, you are trying to create a bullet train line on a different gauge, which will be a standalone gauge unconnected with your main network of Indian Railway as a whole began to be neglected because you did not raise the speed. Around 2017, government came up with a plan called Mission Vhat. They said we will double the speed of freight trains and increase the average speed of passenger trains from 50 to 75 kilometers in 5 years. As CAG report, which came out in February 2022, made it very clear that your speed has not increased. In fact, there is a marginal decline in its average speed of trains. 2 years back, that the government really started thinking of improving the Indian railway network. You had this initiative of Vande Bharat trains. The key parameter, railway's competitiveness is speed. The average speed has increased only by about 5% in the best of cases. That too because it is a very high horsepower train, so it can accelerate and decelerate rapidly. Because maximum speed is same, Vande Bharat has not really been very successful. Occupancy, if you have to go, say, 500 to 700 kilometer distance, if the train is going to take 7 and 8 hours during daytime, people will prefer to go by car or they will go by air. In 2022, when government realized that Indian Railway is doing badly, its market share is eroding, passenger volumes have gone down since 2012 and freight traffic is also stagnant. The speed of Rajdhani and Shatabdi trains is the same as it was 20 years ago. Vande Bharat has also not been successful in raising the speed of trains. And then, you suddenly had these spate of accidents. You had the Balasore accident, and then after that, there have been, I think, about 15 major accidents. Vande Bharat trains. You say your trains can run at 160 kilometers per hour. But your track is not fit. Most of the track, the speed is only 110 to 130. It is only in about 200, 300 kilometers. That speed is more than 130 kilometers per hour. That is basically near Agra. And now, 2 months back, Railway Board has issued a direction that no Vande Bharat train will run at more than 130 km. Because of the rising trend of accidents, Railway Board should have done this. Improved your track signaling to raise the speed of on track. Your track cannot permit more than 110 or 130. It will be like running a Ferrari car on a dirt road. You can't really go fast.
Rajendra B. Aklekar, journalist, author and rail historian who has written several books on workings of Indian Railways, he says,
Indian Railway as a system is completely saturated. We are running too many trains in a system which is still getting upgraded. We are running bumper-to-bumper trains, leaving no space for maintenance of asset. Basic upkeep required, there's no time to do that, which is leading to problems. Because of which there's asset failures and that leads to accidents. 80% of traffic is around India's national cities, the golden quadrilateral that we say. So we need to lay few corridors along that particular stretch. So at least the capacity will go up. So we can have more trains. We are to blame politicians for this, to keep on starting new trains, flagging of new trains. using the same system. And railways technically can't say to politicians or ministers because they are answerable in the parliament. So what is happening now is crowds are increasing and they are running the high-profile Vande Bharat trains a lot. So what we suggest is we should have Janta Vande Bharat trains. At least everybody can get in and run them, so everybody gets an experience of it. We have less number of tracks and more number of trains, which is leaving us no time to look at the assets. Like we need upkeep of the wires, those overhead wires. We need upkeep of the tracks. We need upkeep of the rolling stock, the assets, which is not happening because we have train after train running. But there's a certain schedule that we are not keeping. We are running passenger trains at a subsidy, which is putting pressure on the freight. They have freight targets. So they're running freight trains to meet these targets. These trains are not, as I suspect, not inspected regularly, which is why we see these freight derailments happening in the recent past. The system is so saturated, so one train falls, the entire section goes down for 2 days.
We are not giving the time to the maintenance department. Every time they used to say integrated block. The maintenance department will get an integrated block so that they can, electrical department, signaling department and engineering department, they will maintain the track. After Balasore, when this point was highlighted that time is not given for the maintenance, so they changed. They said rolling block system. We will give you, if you make plan 3 months in advance, then we will timetable your block. All these things, I don't know whether somebody is monitoring that. Is it helping? Because I have given a block, so trains are not getting operated. That is lot of huge loss to the organization. But does it getting translated into improved maintenance? Is my track machine utilization improving? Something is fundamentally wrong somewhere.
The Comptroller Auditor General, in its 2 reports on speed, safety and punctuality and on accidents, has pointed out to high asset failure in Indian railways, particularly signal failure and rail fractures, coupled with speed and capacity bottlenecks. It points out the lacunae with a lot of supporting data.
There is a policy confusion also. Focus of that IRMS is how to run more and more Vande Bharat. Optics are to improve rather than organizational culture. I am not blaming the management alone for the organizational culture. In the process, people who are supposed to operate the trains, run the trains on day-to-day basis, perhaps their voice is not being heard. They are being forced to or resort to shortcut. Kanchenjunga accident where the automatic signaling failed. The station master said that there are a bunch of the trains and I had to push the train. There was no time. So if you have to push the train means you will take yourself a decision to violate the rule. Nobody is asking question that automatic signaling was commissioned only 7 months back at such a high cost and that failed. So why that failed? People are blaming the driver. We have diluted our emphasis from the accident or safety. Message down the line is time you are able to operate the trains. If there is 1 or 2 accidents, we will manage. There are symptoms. The accident happens for 3 years, 4 years, no inquiry report is not published or accepted. The CAG has also pointed out this issue. Then how do you rectify?
CAG report which came out in 22, for inspecting train track, you have to run a special train which is fully instrumented to record the parameters of the railway line. CAGs have pointed out that your inspection by that special inspecting train are in arrears. You have not been able to carry out inspections because of this neglect of about 20 years, which has resulted in heavy congestion on the main trunk routes. Inspection and maintenance is suffering. Indian Railway has to revisit its policies and thrust areas, and the focus should be on increasing the capacity of the Indian Railway broad gauge network, particularly these lines which are on the quadrilateral and its diagonals which connect Delhi in the north, Chennai in the south, Mumbai in the west and Kolkata in the east. These are our trunk routes. Just like we are making 6-lane and 8-lane expressways, we have to build new double track lines, 2 track lines. We have 1 line, but these lines are about 100 to 125 years old. They have been upgraded. I think their potential is now fully exhausted. And these lines should be on broad gauge for 250 km/h speed.
Every new government comes has their own policy, which overshadows, supersedes the earlier policy. Then things are bound to go wrong. There's no continuity of the policy. I think political interference is one thing. Railways should be allowed to run. Suddenly you announce a new train from somewhere, then the railway guys are forced to insert the train in a timetable, which goes and gets stuck somewhere. So I think political interference has to stop at some point of time. Run trains properly. If there's accident, they are answerable, of course. But if you do too much of putting your suggestions or things in between, then the railway is going to collapse. Because they follow the directives of the this, and then everything goes haywire. My priority as an advice to Indian Railways would be to focus on new corridors instead of improving station buildings and cosmetic things. Let the divisions and zones operate, because there are too much focus away from the core activity. People are being deputed to some other projects which are not important. The basic task of Indian Railways is run trains. They should just focus on operations and trains. They are into too many things of hotels, food, and unnecessary things, I think. Too many units overlapping in the system, which needs to go. Divisional manager is not allowed to work at peace. He has to report to somebody. He has some unnecessary targets to be made just for optics, which should go. We require land, so we should take all the stakeholders together. We should lay those paths first, because then that will speed up the projects. Otherwise, we'll just announce new corridors and nothing will happen. We should have a time-bound roadmap for that. There are so many trains run. There's so much of wear there that we need to keep maintain it. And then we can't do it every day. We do it once a week or once in a month, which is not correct. The way staff is being deployed for unnecessary protocols and unnecessary things, they should be brought back to their core jobs.
For train safety, Kavach is an anti-equalization technology created by Research, Design and Standards Organization with two features. Its cap signal enables the train driver to spot whether the next signal is red, blue or green on the console which is in front of him. The driver may likely miss to see that the next signal is red due to many level crossings or trains passing on heavily used tracks. The second feature is automatic application of brakes. In case the driver is unable to apply the brakes or he fails to notice that the next signal is red, Kavach will automatically apply the brakes.
Indian Railway should have gone for cab signaling in a big way 20 years ago. They have not done more than 1,000 kilometers of the lines with cab signaling. Now they want to put this more advanced and more complicated system. We have been hearing about Kavach for last 7-8 years. First you had Kavach, then we had Kavach 2, then Kavach 3, Kavach 4. Now they say they have developed it and they will be implementing. We should have gone for cab signaling in phase 1 and later for advancement of automatic application of brakes.
Our people are not able to handle this modernization. We have given them automatic signaling. They do not know how to maintain it. Similarly, we will give them Kavach. And Kavach also, they will say, look, this thing gone wrong, that thing gone wrong, this was not functioning. So I adopted a shortcut. We have this LHB coach, which is a very modern coach, and they don't climb over each other. Their coupler doesn't break. The modernization has brought in the advantage. Otherwise, we would have n number of casualties in these kind of accidents. But our organization culture has not kept pace to absorb and handle this modern technology and these kind of investments, which have come all of a sudden.
The government has been trying to privatize railways to a tepid response. Looking at the example of Britain, where the government tried to privatize operations, keeping the infrastructure to itself. The experiment, however, failed, resulting in overcrowded trains, cancelled services and high fares. The UK government is now trying to re-nationalize railways.
Privatization lead to price rise. Basically, the way we are running trains is all good. The way it's being handled is not properly. Privatization is not going to help. They should have rigid entry tests for the railways, because anybody can't come and suddenly take over. It needs a certain discipline to run trains. One goof up and everything collapses. So if you are a part of the system, you should realize that. Because it gets stuck into lots of layers of tendering and then approvals and applications. So by the time it reaches the line, there's a new upgrade required.
For privatization, like airlines, we have to unbundle. We have to go for open access. We have an opportunity. We have created a dedicated freight corridor, which is a separate infrastructure altogether.
Absolutely.
Let us permit that whosoever wants to operate the train on dedicated freight corridor can operate like a airline. Let him bring his own train and his own cargo, and we only charge him for the per train kilometer. The highway toll model, why it is so successful? Because it's an open access.
It is Railway Board which runs railway. It gives advice to the minister for taking policy decisions. It failed, It didn't do it. This should have been done around near 2005 when road and air traffic is booming, was recording double-digit growth, 10 to 12%, 14% growth. There was time when domestic air traffic was growing at about 15-16%. Your GDP is increasing, your population is growing, so you have to increase the capacity of your network and you have to raise the speed of trains. you were ignoring your bread and butter, which is Indian Railway network. If we are going to have such frequent accidents, you will see decisions like this, that Vande Bharat will not run at more than 130 km/h. You will see that Railway Board will be forced to impose more and more restriction on the network. Result will be that your traffic volumes will further decline, which will further make it very difficult for people to travel by trains. It will accelerate the decline of freight and passenger volumes on Indian Railways.
There is too much of interference from the Railway Board, I guess. It's micromanaging them. They should be allowed to run trains and not do anything else. These targets the Railway Board gives are for optics. They're spending lots of money, I know, but most of them are things which are not on the priority list. First, we need tracks. Then we can have good trains. I've seen all zones almost. They are unnecessarily burdened with lots of things which are not meant to be, things which could wait.
Jain, who has worked in Indian Railways for 40 years, also expressed concerns about increasing incidents of fires in trains. Jain said that we do not have any standard operating procedures for evacuation or firefighting in case of fires in trains. Jain also underlined that now Indian Railways needs an independent regulator.
World over, we don't see these kind of fires in the train. Someone has to examine and analyze why we are having for safety. Now, either we convert the existing Commissioner of Railway Safety organization into some kind of a regulator, or we bring in an independent safety regulator like Director General Civil Aviation, who oversees your operation, safety part of it on day-to-day basis. Even before the collision happens, he will flag the issues. Look, your people are not trained enough. They don't know this technology. So ground him or ground this equipment. Independent regulator who is not accountable to the train operators or the railway board, he only can reverse this process, because we cannot reverse the decision of Indian Railway Management Service which we have taken.
We had to now compete with rejuvenated and strong air and road transport. We had to upgrade, create additional capacity because GDP is growing, population is growing, so traffic will increase. Otherwise, Indian Railway will not be able to compete with road and air transport, and it will go on declining since 2012 in terms of passenger traffic volumes and also freight traffic volumes. Now, this decline may even accelerate. You see, you are making new expressways, you are opening hundreds of new airports. Why are you not making new lines? You are neglecting your rail.
The entire India looking at you, they have hopes, but then we need to streamline things, and I think the minister should, he's a good technocrat, he's IIT and he knows how systems work. So he should try to control the political interference in the railways, and maybe then that could add to improving the system overall.
China, like India, is a heavily populated country and a developing economy. Since 1995, China has added 90,000 kilometers of new lines, which is 18 times more than India's 5,000 kilometers since the same period. It is now important that the government brings in strong and effective policies to strengthen the national transporter. It is equally important that the government ensures these policies are implemented in earnest for safety of passengers, property and goods. Thank you for watching Checks and Balances.